Welcome back to NUICfootball.com. As we get ready to head into week 2, we take a look back at week 1, and week 1 almost went as well as we expected it would be, but there were a few things that did stand out. First off, Stockton kept it close with Du-Pec. Obviously, the hype was big on Stockton to begin the year with new head coach Sean Downey, Randy Ashey coming into the scene, along with Riley Ashey and a couple other things that were going on. They pushed the weight room, things like that. And they were almost 5 minutes away from coming away from a big upset against Du-Pec. So obviously there's some things there with Stockton that we want to keep our eyes on as we move forward through the season. The second one was Galena shocking EPC despite EPC outgaining the Pirates by 40 yards. A 14-6 game at the half. Galena put it away in the fourth quarter. Obviously, I had picked Galena to be 2-7. At the same time, I've also stated before, too, that anything can happen when you take a look at teams 2 through 8. You're taking a look at a couple things where different players can rise up to the occasion, make big plays happen. Galena did that, obviously, with Jack Reese leading the way there. So, Galena, again, a team that we projected to be 2-7, EPC on the other side of that at 4-5. That was a big game for both of them to get out of the gates to start the year on. The winner is going to have the leg up on their chances of making the playoffs. The loser is going to have to rebound a little bit. And in this case, it's going to be EPC, whereas Galena has that leg up and are looking pretty good to move into week 2 and possibly move to 2-0. Our third one is the Forreston-Fulton game, where Forreston picks up their first NUIC win over Fulton after erasing a 10-point halftime deficit. Fulton had taken control of Forreston in each of the previous 2 seasons since Fulton had joined the NUIC. However, this time it was Forreston's turn to take the W away, and they did so behind the rushing of Dane Setterstrom and Caleb Sanders and a few others. So we got a lot to look forward to. Obviously, moving into week 2, we have some big games coming up that can help identify teams this season. In 8-man, Polo makes a trip north to Orangeville. Can Orangeville show that they can be a threat in 2023? We have Forreston at Dakota. That can answer a lot of questions we have early this season. After a no win, is Forreston as good as their ranking, or can Dakota surge through and throw another wrench into what people think Dakota is as well? And then finally, Leamon meets their first opponent of the year when they travel to Fulton. But obviously, the Steamers are coming off a high-profile game loss to another team in Forreston. Are the Panthers for real? Obviously, there's a lot of things that are showing that they are, but can the Steamers rebound to shock the entire state in this matchup? So we got more on that to come right now.
This NUICfootball.com production is powered by Lemon's Ambulance Service in Galena, Illinois. We always plan for the expected, but sometimes we need to plan for the unexpected. Lemons has been serving Stevenson and Joe Daviess counties since 1869. Call someone you can trust in your time of need. Call Lemons Ambulance Service.
We're going to start this week in 8-man, and our first game we're looking at is Amboy at River Ridge. Amboy enters this game with a 1-0 record. River Ridge enters at 0-1. Last year, Amboy won this matchup 68-14 in week 2. Last week, Amboy beat Unity Christian 46-0 in a game that we thought was going to be better than it was at the start before Unity Christian lost all these guys to transfer. Obviously, after knowing that fact, we felt like Amboy would roll. And, so to speak, they did knock Unity Christian out of the polls, which we expected to happen as well. Last week, also, River Ridge lost to Milledgeville 48-0. Milledgeville was number 3 in the state rankings, where they continue to remain as we enter into week 2 as well. Obviously, this game is going to be the tales of 2 different scenarios. Amboy obviously had big games or big leaps in their game against Unity Christian, to the point where Unity Christian had asked for a running clock before they even reached halftime. And, River Ridge, on the other hand, had to fall to a running clock, so to speak. I mean, they lost 48-0, but they had the running clock the entire second half as they were down 40-0 at halftime. For Amboy, Landon Welchel led the way with 66 yards rushing and a touchdown. Eddie Jones threw for 45 yards on 2 for 2 passing for 2 touchdowns. And Brennan Blaine had 2 receptions for 45 yards, and both those went for touchdowns. So obviously Amboy didn't have to do a whole lot in order to get themselves up to a big score, and led by the expected leaders there, Welchel, Jones, and Blaine. Obviously, Quinn Luffelman was also in the mix. He just did not get on the scoreboard, but he did get some yards rushing in there as well. On the other side was River Ridge. They had a struggle against Milledgeville, being shut out. George Winter led their rushing attack with 27 yards, followed by Seth Nicholas and Damon Dittmer. And with that, this is going to be another big test for River Ridge. Obviously, Coach Nicholas is hoping that his team isn't, and he doesn't feel this way either, that his team is better than what it shows. Obviously, coming out of the gates to start the season against the number 3 team, and then follow it up with the number 1 team. It's a hard way to start the season for sure, but it's also going to test River Ridge. If they want to get back to the playoffs, they have to know where they're going to stand, and they're getting that feel right now as they got shut out by the Milledgeville. Now they have number 1 Amboy at home this week. Obviously, in this matchup, I like Amboy in a pretty big game, but you never know. River Ridge can change some things around. They have some athletes there. You get a couple broken plays, and good things can happen on that too. So we'll see, but I still like Amboy big in this one. Our next game is going to take us to Milledgeville, where the Missiles will play host to Quest Charter Academy. Quest Charter is 0-1. Milledgeville is 1-0. This is the first time these two teams have met. Milledgeville won last week 48-0 over River Ridge, and Quest Charter lost to Schlarman Academy 52-22 in their first ever, not their first ever football game, but very close to it. Anyway, not much to say on Quest Charter. Don't know much about them. It's their first year playing 8-man football since 2020, and I think they only played 1 game that spring. Outside of that, Milledgeville obviously had a lot to go with. Milledgeville was led by Connor Nye, who went 9 for 14 passing for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Added another 61 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns last week. Spencer Nye had 53 yards rushing and a touchdown, and 25 yards receiving for another touchdown. And then Connor Johnson and Bryce McKenna also added some receptions in there, with Connor Johnson also getting a touchdown. So, Milledgeville is able to mix it up with run and pass, and with the quick outcome. Obviously, there's very low statistics, but some good yardage there as well for the Missiles. And really, the Missiles just doing what they do, and that's controlling the tempo, doing what they want to do, pass, run, and come away with a big win. Don't see anything likely to change here for the number 3 ranked Missiles as they play Quest Charter at home, and expect a big rout here.
Our 8-man game of the week is brought to you by Best Realty. Best Realty has been helping Northern Illinois tackle their real estate needs since 1990. Whether you're buying or selling in the market for residential, commercial, or acreage, they'll help you get the best deal. Call the Best Realty team at 815-248-3408 or visit them online at bestrealtyproperties.com.
Our Best Realty 8-man game of the week takes us to Orangeville, where the Broncos will play host to Polo. Both teams coming in this game 1-0. Last year, Polo won this game 40-8 in week 2. Last week, the Marcos got off to a 1-0 start, beating Peoria Heights 62-14, while the Broncos took down a playoff contender from a year ago in AFC 46-12. Polo was led by Brock Solto at 110 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Dilo Fernandez added another 58 yards rushing with a touchdown. On the other side of the ball, Orangeville was led by Cody Worth, who was 5 for 8 passing for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns, picked up another 35 yards rushing with a touchdown. The leading rusher, Blake Fulgate, ran for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. And then they got some receptions from Michael Webb, who had 75 yards receiving and a touchdown. And then Ben Briggs moved out from his lineman position to catch a pass. 2 passes, actually, 1 going for a touchdown with a total of 19 yards. So, a lot of things can be said here. Obviously, you're looking at a rematch of the 2021 state championship where Polo beat Orangeville. Last year, Orangeville went 1-8 while Polo still went back to the semifinals. Both teams are on different avenues. Polo lost a lot of players off of last year's team. They do return quite a bit, obviously, in All-Stater Brock Solto, and then you have Dilo Fernandez there, clearly leading the way. But with Orangeville, they do have a lot of returning starters with a lot of experience under their belts with Cody Worth, Blake Fulgate, Ben Briggs, and a few others. This game is going to be could be a better game than what people think, especially the pundits and the critics. But, right now you'd have to say that Polo is at least a 3-touchdown favorite based off of what we've seen in years past. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos can somewhat keep this close. New coaching staff, players playing for a little bit more pride as they obviously started off with a big win over a team that made the playoffs last year. On top of that, they're starting to find their way into the state rankings. So, once you get the ball rolling and start feeling some things out, you start to feel good about it. But Polo is still the threat, still the favorite. They're my pick to win.
This portion of our broadcast is brought to you by Diedrich Epoxy Flooring. Serving Northern Illinois and Southern Wisconsin, Diedrich Epoxy is the source for all of your epoxy needs. Give Diedrich Epoxy Flooring a call today at 815-239-1158 for your free estimate.
We move over to the 11-man side, and the first game right out of the gates is a big one as Forreston travels to Dakota. Both these teams come in with 1-0 records. Last year, Dakota won this game 34-28 in Week 8, and then they lost to Forreston 20-8 in the quarterfinals. Last week, Forreston beat Fulton in comeback fashion, 22-18, while Dakota had an easy win over Fisher, 48-12. Leading the way for Dakota were the Gordon brothers, Benny and Jaden. Benny finished the day with 134 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Jaden picked up 116 yards on the ground. Jason Bowers pitched in with 2 touchdowns on 73 yards rushing, and Tristan Alexander also picked up 66 yards rushing with a touchdown. Nolan Mayberry led the passing attack, going 2 for 4 passing with 54 yards and 1 touchdown. That touchdown was thrown to Braxton Niedermeyer, who had his only reception of the day for 26 yards on that touchdown grab. He did pick up a 2-point conversion earlier in the game as well, as those two connected on a 2-point try as well. Obviously, Dakota had a big game running out of the gates. They put up 409 yards of offense on the ground. So, things were looking good in that wishbone option attack. And, they're going to have to do some things a little bit cleaner. They're going to have better competition in front of them with the number 2 ranked Forreston Cardinals coming to town this time around. Forreston, obviously, 22-18 winners over then number 3 ranked Fulton. Forreston was number 4, jumped to number 2 this week in the polls. They were led by Micah Nelson, who had 88 yards rushing. Owen Mulder picked up 60 yards rushing with a touchdown. Big plays out of Dane Setterstrom, especially with 55 yards rushing. And then Caleb Sanders added 47 yards rushing and a touchdown. And then Forreston's other touchdown run was by sophomore quarterback Brady Gill on a 1-yard keeper to get the Cardinals on the board. One of the things you can say about Forreston is that they're always well-conditioned. A lot of people feel after last week's game that that's really what led them to come back to win from an 18-8 halftime deficit to pull that out 22-18, scoring that last touchdown with just about 5 minutes left in the game or so. So I mean, it was a big touchdown. Obviously, they needed it. And then on top of it, they got the 2-point conversion. So that really helped force Fulton's hand to the point where they had to get down the field to get a touchdown. They weren't going to be able to settle up for a field goal or anything like that. So, great job all around by both these teams. Should be a very interesting matchup as we take a look at Dakota and Forreston over the history of those two teams playing each other. But in recent years, it's definitely been more favorable for Forreston, especially coming off their state championship year runs following what Dakota had done prior to that. But, like we said, last year we saw a shocker there in week 4 where Dakota pulled off the upset. Then Forreston came back after being down early in that quarterfinal game to also claim the win over Dakota. So, can this be a game that goes back and forth again? It's possible. Both teams have very strong lines, very big lines. They both have team speed. So we'll see who does what in this matchup, but it should be good. Forreston is a 2-touchdown favorite coming in this matchup, and right now you kind of got to go with the Cardinals in this one simply because they are the favorite. They are the team that is looking to be that team that can beat Lena Winslow as well. So the Cardinals are my pick to win in this one. Our next game takes us over to Savannah, where West Carroll will play host to Galena. Galena comes in with a 1-0 record, while West Carroll comes in at 0-1. Last year, Galena won this game in Week 9, 67-0. Last week, Galena won 28-6 over EPC, while West Carroll lost 68-0 to Lena Winslow. Taking a look at the leaders for Galena, you're looking at Miles Schumacher and Jack Reese. Those guys combined to score the 4 touchdowns for the Pirates to lead them over their win over EPC. Miles ran for 95 yards with the 2 touchdowns, and Jack Reese had 84 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. On the other side of the ball, West Carroll only unfortunately put up about 9 yards total offense. Connor Townsend had the most carries for -3 yards in the route from Lena Winslow. So there's not a whole lot of positive things out of that West Carroll game versus Lena Winslow, as it was just pretty much over by halftime. And yeah, it went as expected. So pretty much starting up where they left off last season. So we'll see how things shift out. Obviously, Galena is trying to make their way to 2-0. Another good step in the right direction here can get them to 2-0. And then they have that opportunity then to really put the cards in their hand to play and see how the rest of the season begins to shape out as they try to get back into the playoffs for the first time in 2 years. So either way, I do like the Pirates in this game. I believe that they're going to win pretty big here. We head over to Lanark as EPC will play host to Du-Pec. Du-Pec enters this game 1-0, while EPC enters at 0-1. Last year, Du-Pec won this game in Week 4, 43-0. Last week, Du-Pec escaped with a 20-16 win over Stockton, while EPC lost 28-6 to Galena while outgaining the Pirates on the evening. Du-Pec was led by Cooper Hoffman, who had 76 yards rushing with a touchdown, went 15-27 passing for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Now picked up 51 yards rushing and 33 yards receiving. Jackson Diedrich picked up 67 yards receiving, and Drew Williams picked up 46 yards receiving. And then, obviously, don't forget about Brody Black's big play to catch the ball in the back of the end zone one-handed. It's actually been put up for nomination for National Play of the Week. And last I checked, Brady was in the lead in that poll. So we've posted that poll on our Twitter site. It's posted on our Facebook group page as well. You can vote as many times. I don't remember when the poll ends, but get out there and take a look at it. It was an amazing catch to seal the victory for the Rivermen in Week 1. On the other side of the ball is EPC. They were led by Jackson Kemple, who had 81 yards rushing and a touchdown. Their second leading rusher was Javin Zier, who had 66 yards, and then Will Burchin had 43 yards rushing. So really, EPC kind of did what we expected them to do. Jackson Corbin was their quarterback, threw for 15 yards, so the passing attack really wasn't there much, while the rushing attack is more of what they were looking to go for. And unfortunately, they came up on the bottom end of the win column on this one. But, this game could be a very good game. Like I said before, you put 2 through 8 together, you put them in a hat, you shake it up, you throw it out. Anybody can play with anybody 2 through 8. Every Friday is going to be different. Obviously, we saw some things in that Du-Pec game that showed us that they might be vulnerable at different things as well. EPC showed that, while they lost, that they can have a potent rushing attack. And if they can get the passing attack going to run that multi-faceted offense that Coach McNutt likes to run, then the Wildcats are going to be very competitive. And this could be a competitive game. We've seen it happen between these two teams in the past as well. So, anything can happen, but obviously Du-Pec's going to come into this game as the favorite, and they are my pick to win. We head over to Stockton, where the Blackhawks will play host to Heyworth. Heyworth comes in with a 1-0 record after they beat West Hancock 34-28. Stockton is 0-1 after they lost to Du-Pec 20-16. Last year, these two teams didn't play, and I couldn't really tell you if they've ever played against each other before. I know that we've seen Heyworth among the NUIC teams in the past, but I don't recall them ever matching up with Stockton, but it doesn't mean that they didn't. I just know that they have not in recent history. Anyway, I don't have anything on Heyworth. I don't really know what they're going to run. Last year, they were not a playoff team, so I don't really see them as a large threat. They play in the Heart of Illinois Conference on the small side. For Stockton, coming off of a tough loss in a game that they know that they needed to keep close, and at the same point, they kept it close enough to where they had the opportunities to win it and just didn't get it put away. That's definitely a heartbreaking thing for the Blackhawks. But at the same time, clearly they found things that they can correct, work on, fix, all that good stuff. But they were led by Tanner Guile, who had 72 yards rushing and a touchdown. Carl Hubb ran for 67 yards. Passing-wise, Colby Tucker was 4 for 6 passing for 86 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown went to Brady Haas, who finished the night with 2 receptions for 62 yards and the 1 score. So obviously Stockton was able to do things, run and pass in this game to kind of throw their offense into the mix of what they want to do as well. So, being an offense that can run the ball and pass the ball makes them very versatile, and it can make them very potent. And for a team that can play with Du-Pec, a team that was highly regarded all preseason long and then even coming into the start of the season as a team that can play and compete for a conference title, you might have to sit there and say, hey, Stockton's good enough to where, they may not necessarily play for the conference title, but they can definitely play within the conference to elevate their level back to being a playoff contender. And that's very much at stake here as they play Heyworth. This is, a game that is a must-win game for Stockton in order to make sure that they get to the playoffs if they if that's their end goal, which we know it is. So, either way, I expect Stockton to win this game big.
Our 11-man game of the week is brought to you by Best Realty. Best Realty has been helping Northern Illinois tackle their real estate needs since 1990. Whether you're buying or selling, in the market for residential, commercial, or acreage, they'll help you get the best deal. Call the Best Realty team at 815-248-3408 or visit them online at bestrealtyproperties.com.
Our NUIC 11-man game of the week features Leamon traveling to Fulton. Leamon enters this week ranked number 1 in state still. Fulton, with the loss, drops to number 6. Leamon will enter with a 1-0 record. Fulton 0-1. Last year, Leamon won this game 54-32 in week 5. It was a very close game in the first half before the Panthers were able to break it open. And then the Panthers really flexed on the Steamers in the quarterfinals, where Lena Winslow won 52-14 in their second consecutive year, knocking the Steamers out of the playoffs in that quarterfinal round. Last week, Lena Winslow won 68-0 over West Carroll, while Fulton lost that great game of the week to Forreston 22-18. Leamon was led by Gage Dunker with 57 yards and a touchdown. Nick Tippett picked up 73 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Blake Duncan added another 73 yards on the ground with a touchdown. And then sophomore Alex Schlichting got 1 carry for 82 yards and a touchdown. So, it's kind of interesting. We got 3 names in there that we talked about in our preseason show, and then a 4th name that we even brought up in our preview, in Alex Schlichting being a guy that, you could definitely see beginning to progress as the season goes on and getting more opportunities to carry the ball within this Panther offense, especially with his speed. And here we are, game 1. Obviously, not the greatest of teams that they were playing, or a lot of pressure, but at the same time, definitely very explosive in this week 1 game. On the other side of the ball, very impressed with the play of Dom Kramer at quarterback, as it was his first game starting at quarterback. Threw for 181 yards on 12 of 24 passing for 3 touchdowns, as he put Fulton in the lead in the first half, obviously, on those plays. He also added 59 yards rushing on the ground. Honestly, on their last drive, I thought, he was kind of going to take over that game, something like Vince Young did when he led Texas over USC in that 2005 national championship game. It's kind of, Dom would drop back, look in the pass. If the throw was open, it was there, but if not, he was taken off, and it was just kind of reminiscent of that. But unfortunately, for the Steamers, they just did not complete that drive, and ultimately led to a turnover on downs, and then allowed Forreston to walk away with the victory. But A.J. Boardman added 41 yards on the ground. Trevor Theismann had 3 receptions for 54 yards. Balin Damoff added a 60-yard touchdown reception, and Jacob Husengay had 5 receptions for 48 yards and a touchdown as well. Obviously, we know what Lena Winslow is going to want to run. They're going to run their wing tee offense. They're going to take a look at, running the traps, running the belly, running the sweeps. Probably take a look at hitting a pass play down the field somewhere if they can, just to keep things honest and simple. Fulton, on the other hand, they're going to take a look at what they can exploit on Lena Winslow's defense. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball. Definitely going to be able to do different things. And really, they're going to be looking to have some success. This one's going to come down to line play more than anything. It's kind of cliche to a degree, but at the same time, Fulton is, to me, they got to improve that line play just a little bit. Against Forreston, while they even had the lead, I felt like Forreston was more in control of that game. They just did not capitalize on their opportunities, where Fulton was able to not only capitalize on their opportunities, but they were able to come up big, while not breaking earlier in the game. Unfortunately, the conditioning and the line play ultimately wore down the Steamers as Forreston kind of pushed their way to victory there. So that's just a little bit of takeaway there. Obviously, in this game, Lena Winslow is going to come in as a favorite, but it's Lena Winslow's first true test of the year, as well as the number 6 ranked Steamers are hosting this game. At the same token, Fulton's already played in that big matchup now. They got a taste of it by playing Forreston already. Now they have Lena Winslow. So they get the two big giants out of the way right at the start of the game season. We'll see how they fare. If they come out 0-2, it's not a bad thing. Obviously, 1-1, they're going to do some things to definitely shock the state. But, I got to go with the Panthers in this one. They're a 2-touchdown favorite coming into this game, or a 3-touchdown favorite. I can't remember. It's right in there. But either way, I do like the Panthers in this matchup.
Our NUICfootball.com state rankings are presented by Leading Edge Fundraising. If you need to raise funds for new uniforms, tournament expenses, equipment, or more, look no further. Brandon Sharp at Leading Edge makes it easy for you and your team to have a fun and competitive way to raise funds for your program. Give Brandon a call today at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, your premier fundraising company.
Taking a look at our NUICfootball.com state rankings powered by Leading Edge, we are going to take a look at 8-man first. And coming out at number 1 still is Amboy, as the Clippers are 1-0. At number 2 are the Polo Marcos, as they also are 1-0. At number 3 are the Missiles of Milledgeville. Number 4 is St. Thomas More. At number 5 are the Spartans of Ridgewood. Number 6, South Beloit makes their way into the top 10, all the way up to number 6 with their win to move to 1-0. At number 7 are the Cyclones of West Prairie. Number 8 are the Flanagan Cornell Woodland Falcons after they upset defending champ West Central. At number 9 is Martinsville, and rounding out the top 10 is West Central. Other teams that received votes were Milford Cisna Park, Hiawatha, Bushnell Prairie City, and Orangeville. In Class 1A, our NUICfootball.com rankings go as such. Number 1, Lena Winslow. Number 2, Forreston. Number 3, Camp Point Central. Number 4, Althoff Catholic. Number 5, despite the loss, are the Fulton Steamers. Moving into the top 10 for the first time this year are the Newman Central Catholic Comets, after they got a big win over Rockridge. Number 7 is St. Bede. Number 8, Greenfield Northwestern. Number 9 is Morrison. And number 10 is Anawan Wethersfield. Other teams that receive votes are Aurora Christian, GCMS, Deer Creek Mackinac, Rockford Lutheran, Dakota, and Hope Academy. In Class 2A, our NUICfootball.com rankings look like this. Number 1, Maroa Forsyth. Number 2, the Athens Warriors. At number 3, Seneca. At number 4, our last year's runner-up, Tri-Valley. Number 5, Bloomington Central Catholic. Number 6 is Bismarck, Henning, Rossville, Allen. Number 7 is last year's state champ, St. Teresa, as they drop to 0-1. Number 8 is Marion Central Catholic. They're 0-1, had a big game against the number 3 ranked team in Class 4A in Richmond Burton, losing that one 41-29. Number 9 is Pana, and number 10 is Knoxville. Other teams that received votes were Rockridge, Farmington, Mater Dei, Ridgeview, Lexington, Johnston City, and Quincy Notre Dame. And our Class 3A NUICfootball.com state rankings. At number 1 are the Byron Tigers. Number 2 are the Princeton Tigers. Number 3 is Williamsville. Number 4 are the Broncos of Montini Catholic. Number 5 is Tolono Unity. Number 6 is Reed Custer. Number 7 is Eureka. Number 8, Wilmington. Number 9, Du-Pec. And number 10 is Genoa Kingston. Other teams that received votes were St. Joe Ogden, Prairie Central, Stillman Valley, Roxana, and Olympia.
Our NUICfootball.com Players of the Week is sponsored by our friends at Benchwarmers. Each winner receives an extra large pizza and a dozen boneless wings. Just stop in to claim your prize. Located in Freeport at 2143 West Galena Avenue, Benchwarmers is a great place to gather with friends to watch the big game. For American pub food and fun at its finest, check out Benchwarmers. And make sure you try the cheese curds.
Our Benchwarmers 8-man Player of the Week honors go to Milledgeville quarterback Connor Nye. Nye was 9 of 14 passing for 129 yards with 2 touchdowns. Added another 3 rushing touchdowns on the day with 61 yards rushing as he led Milledgeville to the big win over River Ridge in Week 1 to help get the Missile started in their quest for a big year. So congratulations to Connor Nye on your Player of the Week award from Benchwarmers. Our 11-man Player of the Week goes to Du-Pec quarterback Cooper Hoffman. Hoffman led Du-Pec to a big win over Stockton 20-16, going 15 of 27 passing for 154 yards, 2 touchdowns with 76 yards rushing and another touchdown. His play leads to him to be Player of the Week in Week 1 as he leads the Du-Pec Rivermen to victory. Congratulations, Cooper, on your Player of the Week honors. Well, we got a couple big games here in Week 2 to take a look at. Obviously, Dakota, Forreston, Polo, Orangeville, and Lena, Winslow, Fulton are definitely the 3 games to really keep an eye on as we start to move forward into the season. Week 2 isn't do or die, but at the same time, when you're playing high school football, every win matters as every win leads to seeding and playoff eligibility. So, we got a lot of good things to look forward to in the NUIC. A lot of stories still to tell. There's going to be some things that we're going to find out here as Week 2 unfolds itself and will give us a clearer picture as we move into Week 3. Either way, it's going to be action-packed and fun. Get out to the games, root for your teams. As always, root for the NUIC.